Massive breaking news out of Portland. CBP has reportedly shot 2 individuals, according to what appears to be a leaked 911 dispatch screen. These individuals fled the scene, called for help after being shot. It's a man and a woman. And according to CBP, in this leaked dispatch, these individuals attempted to run over these CBP agents. This all took place in Portland. Now, currently across the country, there are protests and some riots breaking out over the ICE shooting that took place in Minnesota. But we have way more information, tons of new developments and arguments coming from the left. And the sweetest, New York Times creating a video analysis where they speed up the incident and claim the officer was not in front of the vehicle and that he stepped in front of it. This is what we are dealing with. On the front page of Reddit on the New York Times, they are intentionally manipulating the information to frame this as though a DHS agent, for no reason, murdered a random woman. But we have another big story. Video emerged shortly after the shooting of let's just call her the perpetrator. I mean, this woman who was trying to flee law enforcement after committing a crime. Her wife said, "It's my fault. I made her come down here." Now, this is interesting. This woman blurting out that she told this woman to come down to confront ICE. And the reason it's interesting is that the woman who died, her family said she would never do anything like this. So it's beginning to look like this woman likely panicked when the police came to arrest her because she had no idea what she was actually doing and was made to come down by an activist spouse. Now, I don't know for sure, but we'll go over this story and we'll start, of course, with this shocking incident that took place in Portland. 2 people shot. And of course, the expectation now is there's going to be an escalation of riots. Some people saying George Floyd 2.0. We'll get into all of that, my friends. But before we do, we've got a great sponsor for you. It is joincrowdhealth.com. Use promo code Tim, my friends. Crowd Health. It's open enrollment. The season where health insurance companies hope you'll blindly sign up again for overpriced premiums and confusing fine print. Don't just take someone else's word. Trust yourself and take control of your future with Crowd Health, the healthcare alternative for people who make their own decisions. Healthcare for under $100. You'll get access to a team of health bill negotiators, low-cost prescription and lab testing tools, as well as a database of low-cost, high-quality doctors vetted by Crowd Health. And what if something major happens? You pay the first $500 and the Crowd steps in to help fund the rest. It feels like the options we used to have before Obamacare messed everything up. And of course, you'll join the Crowd, a group of members just like you who want to help pay for each other's unexpected medical events. The system is betting you'll stay stuck in the same overpriced, overcomplicated mess. And this year, it's even more complicated because most of the ACA subsidies expire, which means your prices are going sky high. So far, Crowd Health members have saved over $40 million in healthcare expenses because they refuse to overpay for healthcare. This open enrollment, take your power back. Join Crowd Health to get started today for $99 for your first 3 months using code TIM at joincrowdhealth.com. Crowd Health is not insurance. Opt out. Take your power back. It's how we win at joincrowdhealth.com. Code TIM. And my friends, go to boonieshq.com and pick up our new Blueprint collection while you still can. The 50 caliber anti-material Blueprint board is sold out. We've got only, I think, a couple of the hand grenade boards left. I believe we have just about a third of our assault wine bottle boards left. About 20 or so of the Battle Axe Jason Ellis boards, and around maybe 10 or 15 of the Colt 45 Cody Mack boards. And of course, don't forget the new and improved Step on Sneck and Find Out Western board. Now, each of these boards have limited edition serialized versions that are gold. Step on Sneck 2.0 has 10. This means when you buy one of these boards, 10 people from Step on Sneck are going to get a golden version. And for every other board, you may get a black and gold version of each board, limited edition. Check it out at boonieshq.com while you can. They're probably going to sell out probably by early next week, maybe actually before the weekend, probably maybe tomorrow, actually, to be completely honest. Don't forget to smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. We're going to break down some hard truths for you, my friend. We're going to debunk the New York Times, the lies from these progressives. But I got to tell you, it's an unstoppable force and an immovable object. The left propaganda machine is in full swing to lie about what happened. So we're going to break that down. And joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Josie, the redheaded libertarian.
Hi, I'm Josie. I'm the redheaded libertarian. Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay, good. I'm Josie. I'm the redheaded libertarian. I'm so happy to be here. Welcome to Florida. This is my home, and I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. What is going on, guys? This is Tate Brown here holding it down. I am equally excited to be in Florida. I am getting used to the sun quite quickly, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it.
Looking a little red today.
A little red. You know, I did fall asleep on the beach, and Serge had to come and, like, drag me out like Maduro. But, you know, we're having a good time. We're having a good time here in Florida.
You're flying in a
Also,
chopper.
why Maduro's brown? It's a tan.
It's true. He's actually Irish. Yeah, it's just a little surprising.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Many people don't know that. The New York Times will probably issue a correction here soon. But
Soon. It's TikTok. Hello, everybody. My name's Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the breaking news right now from KPTV. Federal agents shoot 2 people in Portland. They say 2 people were shot by federal agents in Southeast Portland on Thursday afternoon, according to police. At 2:18 p.m., Portland police officers responded to the 10200 block of Southeast Main Street on a report of a shooting. Officers confirmed that federal agents had been involved in a shooting, PPP said. The FBI office in Portland confirmed the 2 agents involved in the shooting were working for Border Patrol on X and Twitter. But a short time later, they deleted that statement. There's no word on the condition of the people who were shot. Quote, "We are still in the early stages of this incident," said Chief Bob Day. "We understand the heightened emotion and tension many are feeling in the wake of the shooting in Minneapolis, but I am asking the community to remain calm as we work to learn more." PPP officers have secured both scenes pending an investigation. East Burnside Street is closed, blah, blah, blah. This remains an active and ongoing investigation. Now, we have this post from Andy No. He says 2 people have just been shot by Border Patrol during an immigration operation in Portland, Oregon. Anti-ICE accounts have circulated screenshots alleging that a 911 dispatcher leaked to them information about a call for police assistance. Now, it does appear that we have a 911 dispatcher screen leak, which reads 33-year-old male conscious breathing problem. Spanish speaker said he ran from ICE and was shot twice. Wife was shot once as well. Just pulled over here. Info slow. It's followed up by saying, "My caller is Border Patrol. Said they shot at a subject that almost ran them over. Unknown if it hit other subject since they drove off in a red Toyota Tacoma." So it appears that we've got 2 conflicting stories. And I got to be honest, I don't believe that CBP just started randomly shooting or that they shot at people fleeing. It looks like the 911 dispatch report also says they almost ran them over, which, based on what we saw yesterday, lines up. Now, the scariest thing about everything we're seeing with the breaking news, the dramatic escalation we are seeing right now, holy crap. And of course, more importantly, that there is no truth. We can all watch the same video, but it does not matter. There are people that are trying to be reasonable about what this is. And of course, it's the right every single time. If you approach these shootings and say, we don't know for sure, it looks like this may be Border Patrol was aggressed upon and opened fire. That seems to be the simple solution. It won't matter. You're right wing for saying it. In Minneapolis, if you say the ICE agent probably should not have shot this woman, however, she does accelerate with the tires aimed at her, you're a conservative. There is a large group of people, a large political faction that will just say whatever they can to justify why you are a Nazi, why you should be killed. And now in, I believe it's New York, right? They are chanting for Kristi Noem to be hanged. They want her executed. The escalation is insane. Minnesota has just activated the National Guard to come out and assist police. Holy crap, what's going on?
Well, do you remember like last year when that plane crash happened, the Black Hawk hitting the plane at the beginning of the year? And then for like 2 weeks after, you would see story after story of like any minor issue occurring with a plane on the runway. And it was like for 2 weeks, everyone was freaked out to fly because, again, the news media was just reporting on every single incident involving a commercial airline. This is kind of the same thing happening because last year, I believe there was about 14 to 15 ICE involved shootings in the United States. I think around 4 were killed, 5 injured in that ballpark. And so this is just kind of an indication of we're in a really hot moment. It really does feel like the country's sort of doused in gasoline in many ways. Obviously, there's going to be extra scrutiny on ICE over these next 2 weeks. And I think that's what people should be a bit prudent is it's not particularly unusual for there to be an ICE-involved shooting. Again, there was 14 last year, as far as we know. I think it was reported by The Independent that covered that. It's just this occurring so close to what just happened in Minnesota. Obviously, people on the left are going to seize on this. Obviously, they're going to say this is like they're just mowing people down in the streets or whatever. The narrative is already being spun.
We have a statement from DHS. They said at 2:19 Pacific time, so this is 5 p.m. Eastern, U.S. Border Patrol agents were conducting a targeted vehicle stop in Portland, Oregon. The passenger of the vehicle and the target is a Venezuelan illegal alien affiliated with the transnational TRHL prostitution ring and involved in a recent shooting in Portland. The vehicle driver is believed to be a member of the vicious Venezuelan gang TRHL. When agents identified themselves to the vehicle occupants, the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over the law enforcement agents. Fearing for his life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot. The driver drove off with the passenger fleeing the scene. The situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. The mayor has issued a statement saying, this is Portland Mayor Keith Wilson. Just one day after the horrific violence in Minnesota at the hands of federal agents, our community here in Portland is now grappling with another deeply troubling incident. Earlier this afternoon, 2 people were shot and injured by federal agents in the Hazelwood neighborhood. We cannot sit by while constitutional protections erode and bloodshed mounts. Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents, and the full force threatened by the administration has deadly consequences. As mayor, I call on ICE to end all operations in Portland until a full investigation can be completed. Federal militarization undermines effective community-based public safety, and it runs counter to the values that define our region. I will use every legal and legislative tool available to protect our residents' civil and human rights. I'm just going to say it, guys. Civil war. I don't care. It's not funny anymore. There's a lot of jokes about it, but understand what they are saying. They are dispatching National Guard against the feds. They are saying federal law enforcement, duly sworn in and voted for, this operation voted for by the American people, must be stopped. And they're talking about using whatever means they have to stop the federal government from enforcing their laws. They say they want community policing, but that includes allowing illegal immigrant gang members and transnational gangs. It allows them to operate in these jurisdictions. This is the United States of America. This is not a fragmented batch of sovereign states that are at odds with each other, but apparently that's what is being driven in these blue states. The statement that's made here is devoid of fact. The Portland mayor's statement is devoid of fact. The DHS statement asserts some things to be fact. Now, we don't know that they're true, but all I can say is based on the experiences I have and you all have going back the past 10 years, it seems to be that the quote unquote right is trying to rationally assess the situation, and the left is just saying, we will do whatever we want. And I use these statements as an example. The Portland mayor, again, not issuing facts other than a shooting happened, but then goes on a call for ICE to be removed, saying we're going to resist the federal government. DHS said, here's what happened at our operation. A guy tried to run us over. He was shot at. That is a fact assessment. Now, again, maybe DHS is lying. That's fine. But you take a look at George Floyd, what happened? Every conservative comes out and says, we think this is wrong because we are rational people. And every leftist said, arrest the cops, they're evil. When more information came out, conservatives said, actually, we were wrong about that. Derek Chauvin likely was, it's tragic George Floyd died, but this is not a murder, doesn't warrant prison. What we are looking at is continually the right tries to be rational and the left calls for blood. Charlie Kirk was murdered and they are dancing and celebrating. This woman obstructs police, accelerates towards the officer. Before turning right, the cop opens fire. I wouldn't call it the cleanest of shots. I don't think he needed to shoot her, but I think it played out the way it did because this officer, it's now being reported, had been dragged 6 months previously by another vehicle and likely is on edge, especially considering the terror attacks. I think that's a reasonable assessment. It doesn't matter. The New York Times is putting out fabricated information to lie. Activists are putting out fabricated information to manipulate and gain political power from this. There's no off-ramp. I'm sorry. I don't know where we go from here.
It's all agitprop. The whole left narrative is agitprop. The point is to create tension, to continue to up the ante, to continue to push the narrative that ICE is actually the Gestapo, that Trump is a Nazi. You hear it at these protests. The protesters are screaming at ICE constantly the same thing. Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. Nick Sorter had a video. He was walking around last night. The guy behind him, you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi. There was a video that was outside of one of the DHS facilities. You guys are all Nazis. You guys are all Nazis. This line has been the same from them for the better part of 10 years, and it's to justify anything they want to do. The point is to justify violence. The point is to justify whatever behavior they want. There is no reason to think that they're actually reasonable and actually looking for any kind of debate or anything. I talked about this last night. The whole point is to do what they can to destabilize the United States because they believe the United States is an illegitimate country. They believe the whole, oh, you're standing on stolen land. They believe the whole capitalism is actually theft, property is theft. They believe all of it. And the goal is to destabilize the United States as much as they can.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Wilson, the mayor of Portland, that statement he's probably had in the chamber now ever since the beginning of the Trump administration. I mean, there's no question about it. Just have to swap out the city and then the date. But he's been like, these guys are high-fiving whenever they see an ICE-involved shooting. They're relieved. They're so excited. They can finally have the justification to now try and apply pressure on the widely popular mass deportation platform.
Yeah.
And when people have some people on the morning show and there's an ICE-related story, I always like to ask them this question because I think it's a really salient question, and the answer is very helpful for people to understand in regards to why does the left, out of all the issues, the animating issue for them, the one issue that's guaranteed to get them out in the streets is immigration enforcement. And you have to ask yourself, what is at stake? Why are we conducting mass deportations? What about the immigration system being broken for so long specifically infuriates Americans? Well, it's the fact that actual Americans feel dispossessed by immigration, legal and illegal, and the left wing wants to really replace Americans. They want to bring people in because they hate themselves, so by extension, they hate their people, Americans, right? And so that's really what's animating a lot of this anti-ICE fury is just self-hatred, and the fact that a paternal figure, like in this case, ICE, is coming in and saying, actually, no, you need to sort of have love for your country and these sorts of things, that infuriates them.
How much do you think the argument that the Democrats are being funded by the people that are coming in? So you basically, it's a quid pro quo, right?
Yeah.
You get into the United States, we'll provide you with benefits, we'll help you to cheat the system and get some kind of whether it be the millions of dollars in Minneapolis, which seems like it's actually happening in cities all over the country, and then they're getting Democrats are getting donations from these people, large sums, as well as NGOs. How much do you think it's actually just like, one hand washing the other?
It's a triple threat, really. So you have the economic implication, you have the political implication, and then you have the sort of philosophical or national implication. So the economic implication is obvious. We've been talking about it for years. It undercuts labor. So there's business interests involved, and most of these business interests are left aligned because they just tend to play ball more often. And then you obviously have the political ramifications, which is obvious. I mean, Elon Musk points this out all the time, is you can just like run up the numbers in California if you can just pack as many people in, wait for them to have kids, and then that boosts the Democrat voting numbers. Because again, the children of foreign-born people is pretty identical to their parents. So they also vote like 70-30, 80-20 Democrat, depending on the state. And then the third one is sort of this philosophical national sort of understanding. That's what I was talking about earlier, is where they just have a really terrible perception of themselves and they hate themselves. And so by extension, they're going to hate every aspect of themselves. And the primary aspect of a human being is, who are you? Where are you from? That sort of thing.
I think that I was watching it. I saw a tweet, and I didn't retweet it today, but there was a Somali in I believe it was in Maine, and he was saying, look, if you don't support us, if you don't protect us, and essentially saying, if you don't help us game the system, we're not going to vote for you. Our whole community is not going to vote for you. And so I'm starting to think that I understand the points that you're making, and I don't really have any kind of argument against them. But I'm starting to think that it's a little more about trying to scrape off the top for the Democrats. Really, like they'll bring in illegal immigrants or legal immigrants, just so long as those immigrants vote for them and donate to their campaigns.
Well, that's the deal. That's the exchange. And so if these people feel shortchanged by the Democrats on this, then yeah, they're gonna sort of agitate. But the Democrats always fold every single time these people cry uncle.
Let's jump to this story. We got this from Fox News. Renee Good's wife claimed Minneapolis shooting was, quote, my fault, in video amid anti-ICE fury. This is an interesting development in the story, and it paints a picture of what happened. The quick gist, of course, is that following this shooting, the individual who died, Renee Good's wife, is seen crying, saying, I made her come down here. It's my fault. Let me see if I can find the, here it is. I made her come down here. It's my fault. Additionally, in the report, they state that Renee Good's family said she would never have been part of anything like that and described her as compassionate and non-confrontational. It sounds like This woman who was in her car, the reason why she attempted to flee was panic. She did accelerate towards the officer. The officer had been dragged before, likely feared for his life, opened fire on this woman. It seems like this woman in this vehicle was brought down and radicalized by this woman that she had been in a relationship with. My understanding is it's not actually her wife. They're reporting it as a de facto wife, meaning this reporting, it appears they're actually just in a relationship. They call each other wives.
Dating.
Well, yeah, social marriage, not a legit legal marriage, in which case it seems like this woman was in a relationship with this other woman, radicalized her, told her to come down and do this. When she's obstructing the road, these people are LARPing and they don't understand the consequences. They think they're playing a game. And so this doofy, dumb woman commits a felony, commits obstruction, radicalized by this woman who then breaks down and says, it's my fault. Now, the question is, people are going to push back and say, no, she's saying it's my fault like I wanted her to come with me. Not that it's my fault all of this happened. But no, quite literally, the woman is sitting there crying because she's dead, saying it's my fault I made her come down here. The point is, this woman blurted out that she told this woman to come down to commit a felony. And in the process of committing the felony, the woman was killed. And guess what? She likely has some culpability here. Now, the issue that we're seeing, there was an article in the New York Post discussing whether or not this ICE agent is going to face charges. And they said, likely no, because it was a clean shoot, albeit regrettable. And that has to be the stupidest assessment I've ever heard in my life. This dude could take a dump on a ham sandwich that was owned by a Democrat and they're going to lock him up. Okay, let alone shoot a leftist protester. It doesn't matter what the law says. Okay, if a leftist protester punches you in the face 50 times, so you shove them, they will arrest you for shoving the leftist protester. So this guy's going to get charged. Now, apparently he fled the scene, but in any legitimate legal sense, this wife, I believe, has criminal culpability in encouraging an individual to commit a felony, resulting in her death.
Look, I understand your point, but I don't think that she's as innocent or as I don't think she was very naive. I don't think she was naive. I think that she kind of knew what was going on down there. She's alleged to be a member of the National Lawyers Guild. They're basically the legal arm of Antifa, funded by Soros. So whereas maybe she didn't, maybe she's not normally a protester. Maybe she's not. She doesn't interact with the police all the time, like the paid protesters or paid activists do, but I don't think that she's. I don't think that.
No, you're misunderstanding. I'm not saying that this woman's never been an activist in her life, and one day this woman said, "Come down and do this thing with me." I'm saying that you've got a broad scenario where the family doesn't understand why she would do something like this because over a period of time, recent, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, she was being radicalized by this woman who then told her to come down and engage in felony activity against law enforcement.
I think that she was already radical by nature, but
I don't. I think a 37-year-old white woman watched memes online from A-lister celebrities and did not realize placing a vehicle in front of a federal law enforcement officer puts a bullet in your face. Like
I said, if she's a lawyer.
These Antifa people understand they will be shot. This lady had no idea what she was doing. Otherwise, she would not have accelerated into an officer.
Like I said, I think that she's probably not familiar with protests and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't think that she was ignorant of the situation because, like I said, if she is a lawyer,
you think that these middle-aged women are aware that they're going to get shot and killed?
I think that honestly, I think that a lot of middle-aged women think they're above the law totally.
I
think in all contexts.
These people are LARPers who don't think it can happen. That's why when the police push them, they act like the apocalypse happened.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why when they get arrested, they say, "I have not been read my rights."
Yeah.
Because they literally don't know what's going on.
I think that they think they're above the law.
The reason, no. When they
That's
say,
what I think.
When they, my point is, when they say I have not been read my rights, it's not a question of above or below the law. They literally don't know what the law is.
Well, like I said, if she is a lawyer, she's aware of what the law is.
Clearly, she's not.
Not aware?
This woman in the car who tried to flee from federal officers? I mean, in what reality, if she actually escaped, was she going to get away with it?
No, I'm not. I mean, she wouldn't. But just because
that's the point.
Just because she made a dumb decision doesn't mean that she wasn't aware. Like
my point is, it seems more likely that she is an ignorant woman radicalized by memes and a significant other who didn't understand the severity of the action she was getting involved in. Her family didn't think she would do something like this, committing a felony and then trying to flee. This is a woman radicalized by A-list celebrities and memes, and a woman said, come down and do this. It is a snowflake in the avalanche. There have been no consequences for these leftists. So a middle-aged white woman who has no idea how severe this is, engaging federal law enforcement, thought she was going to accelerate and flee the scene after committing a felony. Now, that is beyond ignorant, okay? I watch these videos on Instagram where you see a dude and a motorcycle going 100 miles an hour on the highway fleeing cops, and you're like, yeah, you're not getting away.
No, you can't outrun a radio, no.
Or a helicopter.
Yeah.
This woman doesn't understand what she's getting involved in. Antifa activists who organize this literally do and plan for this. And it is my opinion, her death was a contingency these activists hoped for and planned for. What we know about how Antifa organizes in the far left is that they code people they bring to these events by color, red, yellow, and green. Green marked individuals are like her. Well, she might be green coded. The idea of the green, these are people who form the mass. You want them to get arrested intentionally. You trick them into getting arrested. Why? It radicalizes them. The yellow are the activists who are in the front leading the charge, and the red are the direct action people who hide in the crowd and instigate the fights to cause the violence. The way these plans work is you invite a bunch of doofy college kids to a protest and say it's a peaceful march. The plan they actually have, and I've seen these planning meetings during Occupy Wall Street and the various activities over the past 10 years. The direct action groups have a secret secondary meeting, a direct action planning, where they literally say, how do we maximize police brutality and arrests of the green category? If we can get 100 college kids who have no idea what's going on to show up and march, punch a cop, how many of them will get beaten and arrested? They intentionally want you to show up to get arrested. Why? Because then when you go to jail, they say, why are the cops doing this to you, you poor innocent victim? This woman is on the front lines, clearly having no idea what's going on, nor understanding the felonies she is committing, and then she tries to flee. And in doing so, put an officer in fear for his life, and he killed her. This is a contingency activists hope for. In these meetings, they want martyrs, and they got it, and now they have nationwide riots and protests.
In the same way that we have a moral compass, right? We have a moral compass. We have a system of values that guides everything that we do. Marxists and communists don't have that. Their system of values is, what can we do that's going to get us closer to the revolution? What can we do that's going to get us closer to the rebellion? So they attack the law enforcement instead of attacking the law. They undermine the Constitution because it's nationalism, and that's the worst thing that they can possibly think of. Communists want to overthrow the family, religion, history, truth, nations. And so anything that they can do to get a little bit closer to that, to break down the fabric of America a little bit more, they're going to do that. And we're seeing this, and this is just a sacrifice for the revolution. That's how they see her.
I have been to many an activist meeting, and I have been, one of my favorite stories that I've told quite a bit is during an Occupy Wall Street protest where they were chanting, anticapitalista. That's what they chant, right? Well, there was one guy who was going, blah, nabi, agiba dabastida. He was just saying gibberish. And I'm not even kidding. It's not an exaggeration. And I was live streaming. So if you want to go find the Ustream, if it still exists, you can see it. And I asked him, I was like, what are you chanting? And he goes, oh, I'm just chanting with the crowd. And I was like, yeah, but what were you saying? And he was like, oh, I'm just, chanting. And I was like, no, what are the words? He's like, oh, I don't know. He didn't even know he was chanting anti-capitalist. These were college kids who came down to Occupy Wall Street, many of whom were tricked because the occupier said Radiohead was going to come play a concert. Not a joke. Literally happened. 2,000 people showed up being told Radiohead was playing a free concert at the park. These weren't activists. They were doofs who were like, cool, Radiohead. Then the activists say, we have to go march. People just say, okay, I guess are walking down the street. All of a sudden, they're getting whacked by cops. What happens next? They get arrested. The NYPD pulls out the orange kettling net. That's what they call it, the kettling net. Surround them, wrap them up, put them on a bus, send them to holding. Now you've got a 20-year-old young woman who was looking for a Radiohead concert, who has no idea why she was arrested, and the cops are callous. The cops are like, shut up, you're under arrest. So they have no idea what's going on. Then the activists come in to radicalize, and they say, aren't they evil? You didn't even do anything. You were just walking down the street and they attacked you. Why don't you sing songs with us? We're friends now. Here's my phone number. That's how they recruit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're wrong in any of that stuff. It's just in this context, like I said, if she's a lawyer, I think that she probably was at least aware of how things kind of went, especially that with that National Lawyers Guild. You know, they're in contact with Antifa. The
National Lawyers Guild aren't necessarily lawyers.
Yeah, well, they're activists, right?
The National Lawyers Guild has observers who are not lawyers.
Okay, well, so
a legal observer is just a person who's wearing a hat. And it's a non-sanctioned distinction where a person says, I'm actually just observing. It's meaningless. The police can arrest you all the same. Your hat does nothing.
Fair enough.
It's like a press pass. So I don't know that she was actually a lawyer.
Fair enough. So if she isn't, then you could be right. But like I said, if she was, my perspective on it is that she's not as much of an innocent bystander as other people might think. You know, I think that
I just think if the argument is middle-aged white women are actually planning the murder of federal agents.
No, that's not the argument at all. The argument is that she was there thinking that she was going to go and she was going to help the Somali immigrants. She was going to get in the way of ICE because ICE are the bad guys. And I do think you're right that she was, believes the line.
You're saying that she did not, she did believe she would be shot and killed if she engaged law enforcement?
No, I'm saying that I don't think so at all. I think that liberal white women tend to think they're above the law. I think that, and there's a lot of, it'll never happen to me. Right. It doesn't happen to me. That happens to other people. So I don't think that she did. I honestly don't think that she was trying to run the cop down.
I think we're just talking past each other because my point is she was radicalized intentionally to come down to obstruct ICE.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that committing felonies against ICE result in death.
Yeah, and I think what you guys are both...
Yeah.
We're
saying the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what you guys are both getting at is that even if she does have some association with the Lawyers Guild and these sorts of things, these people ultimately still have this sort of cocktail activism style where they really think that they can do these
luxury
things.
Beliefs.
Yeah, but like cocktail activism where there's a degree of edginess to it. They do know they're being a bit abrasive, but they don't expect like serious consequences for these things. They just expect maybe at the worst they'll get a mugshot, and then they can flaunt that.
Yeah, and you can put
they don't expect to get shot. So yeah, I think that's sort of really what's going on here. So even if she is maybe in these sort of Antifa adjacent organizations, I think even those people still underrate the moment that we're in, and that this is a new paradigm, and that the Trump administration really is. Trump himself is, I would probably assume, like paranoid of having another 2020 replay, and all the actions he's made thus far indicate that he is really serious about putting a lid on this before it does escalate into Summer of Love 2.0.
The principal activists who are career activists wanted her to die to create a martyr, but most of the frontline people, because these leftists don't put themselves in these positions, don't understand that they've seen so much leftists. They genuinely don't believe they're going to get shot.
Yeah.
They don't think they're doing anything other than expressing their First Amendment, despite the fact she was committing, I think, 2 different felonies.
Well, these people think that, they think that everything up to and including pushing police officers is an expression of your First Amendment. They think that they can assault police officers and get away with it because they're just there protesting. I'm at a protest, so I'm protesting.
Right.
It doesn't matter that I'm throwing rocks at the cops, right?
Yeah. And these people are also in a different world. Like, we have to keep in mind, like, this isn't Dallas, this isn't Houston, this isn't Miami. Like, Minneapolis, these people literally remember 5 years ago when they were allowed to do whatever they wanted, and there was literally no pushback whatsoever. So these people are also just in a completely different world being in Minneapolis.
Yeah. I want to show you guys, we got a breaking report from the New York Times. They title it, Videos Contradict Trump Administration Account of ICE Shooting in Minneapolis. And surprise, surprise, what do they say? In the video, they say the officer was not struck. They say that he was clear of the vehicle, then he shot her. It's a lie. So I'm going to play the video from the New York Times and show you exactly what they said. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of things. First, we have this video, which of course we showed yesterday, but I want to play as much as I can to make sure everybody understands what was actually going on. I'm going to play this for you now, and then I'm going to do a quick analysis before we get into the bulk of the story. All right, so the quick analysis. First, the officer who does the shooting is standing to the right front of the vehicle. The SUV reverses with its wheels pointed leftward, making it curve to the right. At the same time, the officer looks like he makes about a step to his right. This aligns both of them in one direction. It's not a question of why was the officer standing in front of the car. The car turned and it put him in front of the vehicle. Then, the most important part, while the wheels are aimed leftward, they spin out. There you go. We've showed it a million times. Here's the front tire spinning on ice before accelerating straight forward briefly. This is an officer hearing an engine rev, not seeing the tires, and the car jerks forward a little bit. He then draws the gun, and most importantly, the vehicle makes contact with him. How do we know? Quite simply, when you see the officer's feet, his leg right here, slide across the ground. See his feet sliding? It's unless he jumped and slid his feet back, which is not what happened. The vehicle made contact with him, which you've already seen in other videos, and then he shoots. Now, before I show you the New York Times video, I want to show you this video. Viewer discretion is advised. A female officer in Baltimore standing much in the same place as this ICE agent with their gun drawn.
As the Jeep continued to advance, Officer Caprio got off one shot. WJZ won't show the rest, but a somber jury saw and heard Amy Caprio dying from massive crushing injuries.
In this video, a video that's going viral, she's standing at about the same angle to the right of the front of the vehicle, gun drawn, and she dies in a second, getting crushed by the criminal. Now that you understand that, here's what the New York Times is presenting, and watch how they speed things up. Warning, the video includes graphic info.
On Wednesday, in Minneapolis, a federal agent fatally shot a motorist,
Oh, wow.
37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. Trump administration officials said these were, quote, defensive shots, fired because the officer was being run over.
And a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over.
But our analysis of bystander footage, filmed from different angles, appears to show the agent was not in the path of the victim's SUV when he fired 3 shots at close range.
Now, I want to point a few things out. The language the New York Times is using is carefully chosen and edited to manipulate you. When they say run over. Now, the first thing I'll do is criticize the Trump administration and Trump himself, which I did yesterday, for saying he was run over, which is not correct. And as predicted, it's being weaponized by the left to claim Trump's a liar. But outside of that, I can explain how they are lying. They combine 2 distinct statements, that the individual was trying to run him over and that he wasn't in the path. This is a non sequitur. The vehicle, as we've already shown, accelerated towards the officer with its wheels pointed slightly left, putting the officer in reasonable fear of being run over, for which DHS said she tried to run him over. After he draws his weapon, the wheels then turn to the right. So these are distinct. Him not being in the path has nothing to do with whether or not she tried to run him over.
Victim's SUV when he fired 3 shots at close range. Here's how events unfolded.
Let's skip ahead to the first part of the shooting, actually.
Then, federal vehicles start moving toward the maroon SUV, with sirens and lights blaring. A federal agent films the scene on his phone. The driver rolls forward slightly, turning left, then stops and waits for others to go ahead. 2 agents exit this silver pickup and walk toward the vehicle. Moments later, shots are fired. Let's look at the scene again more closely.
You hear him say, get out of the car.
This is
Yep.
the agent who shoots the driver. He walks around the car filming and disappears from view. Other agents pull up and order the driver to exit her vehicle.
Several times.
One of them grabs at the door handle and reaches inside. The SUV reverses, then turns right, apparently attempting to leave.
Now,
Flee
you-
the scene.
but you see what he's doing?
Yeah.
He's skipping over what everyone can see, the tires here,
Turns right, apparently attempting.
skid forward. The officer in front can't see what the woman is doing. And in a split second, as he draws his weapon, the wheels then begin to turn right. I believe the woman saw the gun and jerked the wheel to the right.
To leave. At the same time, the agent filming crosses toward the left of the vehicle and grabs his gun.
Because the
He
vehicle
opens fire
accelerated
on
towards
the
him.
motorist and continues shooting as she drives past. The moment the agent fires, he is standing here, to the left of the SUV.
Oh, wow.
And the
Yep.
wheels are pointing to the right,
That's so
away
dishonest.
from the agent.
And they stop it.
Yeah.
And they don't.
This appears to conflict with allegations that the SUV was ramming or about to ram the officer.
No, it doesn't. These people are evil. That's why, you know what I did? The reason why I showed you the video before this one, it's information vaccination. Because you'd watch this and you'd hear this and you'd process it. But when you actually look at the video in slow motion, we can see a few things. He's in front of the vehicle. We can see that while his feet are here, his feet slide.
Yeah.
Sliding because the vehicle made contact with him. More importantly, this part right here is the tires spin. See the wheels spinning? That's the car about to ram him, but because of the ice, it's unable to. I don't believe the woman was trying to run an agent over. I think she was trying to escape and didn't care if she did.
Yep.
President Trump and others said the
Here's where it
federal
gets juicy.
agent was hit by the SUV,
And
often
he
pointing
was.
to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true that at this moment in this grainy low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV.
Okay, wait. This is very, very important. I got to play this for you again. I want you to absorb what the man is saying.
And it's true that at this moment in this grainy low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck
Reject
by
the evidence of
SUV.
your eyes and ears.
I'm sorry. I need to play this again because this is very important. People hear exactly what he is saying.
And it's true that at this moment in this grainy low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV.
It does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV. Now, do you believe the New York Times will come out and say he was not struck by the SUV? He casted doubt as to whether or not he was by saying it looks like he was. Certainly, it does look like he was. And he slides on the ground because he was. He wasn't run over. He wasn't critically injured, but he was hit by the SUV, and I would call it minor. Now listen to what the New York Times says next.
But when we synchronize it with the first clip, we can see the agent is not being run over. And
We can see the agent is not being run over. Now, hold on. This is a classic planned manipulation technique for sales and persuasion. Assumptive language. He said two different things, okay?
was hit by the SUV. This appears to conflict. Trump and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV,
Hit by and run over are completely different.
often pointing to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true that at this moment in this grainy low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the
Being
SUV.
struck.
But when we synchronize it with the first clip, we can see the agent is not being run over.
Run over. He has presented two distinct, unrelated situations to trick people who don't understand. He said it looks like he's being hit, but upon inspection, he's not being run over. Well, that's true. He's not being run over. But the point of phrasing it that way is so that the general public will think in their mind, the dots they connect is he actually was not hit at all.
In fact, his feet are positioned away from the SUV. The SUV crashes into a white car parked down the road. A bystander runs toward the collision.
Now, the reason why we cover things like this, it is not an accident. This was intentional. They wrote these things down and crafted this language intentionally to manipulate you. I want to show you this context as well from the New York Post. ICE agent who opened fire on Renee Good was dragged and hospitalized by a illegal migrant driver last year. I don't know if we have we do. Here's the image of the ICE agent. I believe this is, they're giving the guy's name. ICE agent opened fire, was hospitalized. And then this photo says, a photo shared by CBS Minnesota showed ICE agent Jonathan Ross laid in a hospital bed displaying his arms, once covered in blood from deep gashes. The presumption is, yeah. So they released his name, I guess. This guy had gotten 33 stitches and had dragged 330 feet previously when in a similar situation. ICE has faced several terror attacks over the past year. I don't believe this woman was intending to kill anybody. I just believe she didn't care if she rammed him in her escape. She did strike him. The New York Times, they are activists, they are liars, and I tell you how deep this runs. The guy speaking didn't just write this, record it, and publish it. It went through legal. It went through their editorial department, and I'm sure he's got a couple other people who worked on it. In fact, I bet there's credits. Here we go. Let's see the credits. How do you get rid of this stupid thing? You can't? There we go. Devin Lum, Robin Stein, Ainara Tieflenthaler. Ainara Tieflenthaler's editor, Courtney Brooks, and Mark Scheffler. All of these people coordinated the exact message to trick the public into thinking ICE murdered a woman for no reason. And the most egregious point, of course, is when he says, it does look like the officer was hit, but upon closer inspection, he wasn't run over. Now, people are going to hear that and think, whoa, he wasn't actually hit, because they're manipulating you. That's the game they're playing.
I mean, this has become boilerplate for the left, the at least for the media. That's kind of why people have largely turned away from the legacy media, at least, is because they know that the stories are not intended to inform you. They're intended to tell you what you're supposed to think. And it's, basically it's one narrative. And if you go to CNN, you'll get the same kind of narrative. If you go to maybe not ABC and CBS anymore, or what Bearways is at CBS, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe not CBS, but NBC and ABC, you're gonna get the same narrative. So that's why you're seeing CBS doing what they're doing is because this narrative doesn't fly with people anymore. MSNBC or MS Now, like these channels, these news organizations, they're just activists and they're just trying to propagate a message.
Yeah, what's important here, like with the New York Times, why the New York Times specifically, them conducting themselves in such an egregious matter, because a lot of people in the audience are saying, well, who cares what the New York Times has to say, because like who's even reading it anymore? It's no longer the paper of record, so to speak. Why this matters is because in Washington, D.C., this is like how Beltway politics works, is the majority of these Democrat staffers, maybe not the Congress people themselves, but the people that are staffing them and like writing the policy, they read the New York Times. They listen to the New York Times products. So they are hearing this, and this is what they are perceiving to be true. So again, it's easy for us in the audience, especially people here on Rumble or whatnot in this kind of alt media space, to just ignore them and say, why does it even matter what they say anymore? Because they're a dying business, which is true. But there's a lot of people that are fairly influential that are not terribly smart that will literally get their programming from the New York Times. And so that's why it actually is extremely relevant what information they're putting out, because for a large group of not insignificant amounts of people, they are still the paper of record.
They're the people that consume 2 hours of news a week because they watch 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there.
I don't think they consume news at all.
Well, I mean, if they're to be able to see this stuff, they have to consume some news.
I think what happens is millions of people read the New York Times and then go tell their friends, and most of these people just hear it from some guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I've come out of corporate America. Like, there's always that one guy in the office who perceives himself to be the arbiter of like the latest news. He prides himself off of being this wonk and this news junkie. Yeah. And he's typically a dork, and that's why people actually kind of listen to him. And he's the type of guy that's going to disseminate any information that he hears from the New York Times because he perceives it to be like a position of authority. And with their snappy editing, it's very like kind of well packaged and these sorts of things. It feels authoritative, and especially for these people that are midwits, they're going to see that and go, wow, this must be true. I mean, President Trump, he's so kitschy and dork. There's no way that he could possibly be on the money here. So
a big thing that they're missing when they do this whole report is that reasonable fear of imminent deadly force justifies self-defense. And they have left out completely that part about what that cop was seeing. He was seeing a person who's... I suck tonight. Okay, so he's seeing... So did you hear any of that? All right.
Yeah.
So reasonable fear of imminent deadly force justifies using self-defense. And what he was saying is this woman, crazy or not, she's repeatedly ignoring the order, get out of the car, get out of the car, get out of the car. And she has 2 tons of steel and 200 horsepower that she's turned into a weapon and is pointing at him. But they, skip over that part. What we're seeing as a libertarian, we're seeing the libertarian faction split on this because we're seeing ICE bad, open borders good, and that's versus the people who are like self-defense is good, you know. So whether he was a cop is not relevant to this in particular. And I know some people are going to have a problem with that, but it's not. He's a human being.
The debate just doesn't even matter. We're so far past argument at this point.
Yes, and people will say, okay, well, so do you feel that way about Ashley Babbitt? Like you must think that was justified. It's like, no, she wasn't pointing 2 tons of steel at the cop. She was unarmed. She was this one tiny little woman that was unarmed and got shot for no reason. Like, no, those are not the same thing.
But you're not going to convince the Krasensteins you're right.
No,
There's
of course
no
not.
point in even having the debate. We can just literally say Ashley Babbitt was on our side, so it's wrong.
Yes.
There's literally we could say something rational like Ashley Babbitt stepped up on the trim and looked through a window, got shot in the face, shot in the neck. That's crazy. This one was behind the wheel of a car and accelerated towards an officer. They're very different. Doesn't matter. We're not convincing anybody. The people on the right are already like, ICE is doing their job, you got in the way, and Ashley Babbitt was unarmed. And the left is already saying, we don't care, Ashley Babbitt was an insurrectionist, and this woman's allowed to drive her car at ICE agents.
Yeah, I mean, I grabbed that little clip where you can see the guy's legs slide, and where you can see you see the spin, and then you see the weight transfer. The ass end of the SUV kind of dips a little bit because of the weight transfer, because she starts accelerating. Like, people didn't care. They're just like, no, that's all blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter.
Well, there's that viral post from that female claiming to be a lawyer where she just lied about literally everything, got millions of views.
Yeah.
Well, it's all manipulative language. And she starts by saying, I'm a former defense attorney with no political dog in this fight, and I watched the video 10 times, and I can tell you. And then she goes on, lie about everything.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like, you're a defense attorney. If you were a prosecutor, you might have a different perspective. You know, you might be actually looking at, well, you know, maybe how would you justify what the police did? Because to be honest with you, with the police officer in front of the car and the car moving forward, doesn't matter where the wheels were turned, doesn't matter anything like that. The police officer's in front of the car is moving forward. That's justified. It's justified use of force. Yeah. It's that simple. The car is moving forward. The police officer is in front of the car. That's it.
This manipulated language is designed to target people who are just like this woman who got hit. She's a limousine liberal, you know, she's a middle-aged white woman, and she's got this suicidal empathy. And they also, I think, to some extent believe that there's been a chilling effect because of George Floyd for whether or not they could potentially get shot. Like, no cop's going to want to do that. You saw what happened to that. And then they also believe that the celebrities are going to bail them out. So why not? But speaking as a mother who's around her age, who has three children, this was not rationally done. When you're a parent, you put your children before anything else. In the idea of going down to this, like, I believe she's been brainwashed, like Tim had said. I believe that this woman she was dating did brainwash her to become an activist. There's no amount of anything that could make me risk my life and leave my children here. That just wouldn't happen as a rational thinking person. So I believe that there was some other aspect that was brainwashing her, and whether it be the news, whether it be the woman that she was with, I don't know, but that's not something that a mother does. She did not put her children first that day.
Yeah, and to set the scene for this whole thing, like, what people are forgetting, how did all of this start in Minneapolis in the first place? It was literally Nick Shirley walking out with the camera exposing the very obvious fraud going on in Minneapolis, and then Kirsty Noem saying, yeah, we kind of need to send a message in Minneapolis, so we're going to deploy 3,000 DHS agents. That's how all of this started. So these people are quite literally willing to put their bodies on the line for people that absolutely hate them, that want to defraud them, take their country away from them. And then on the flip side, they celebrate the death of a husband, a father, a patriot. So it's like, we're post-debate. There's no debate to be had. This is a team sport at this point. And I'm sorry to anybody in the audience that's like thinking we can debate our way out of this. We can argue our way out of this. Maybe we just need to like come up with a better idea in the marketplace of ideas. You know what their idea that they're selling in the marketplace of ideas is kill you. That's their idea. It's very simple. At the very least, the more generous people, their idea is let's defraud you and take your country away from you.
Gulags. They've said.
And the right is let's try and have an argument to win an election.
Yeah.
Well, the right.
Actually, I'm sorry. The retard right is, I don't know what's going on, but Israel's bad.
Yeah.
Then the Republicans are like, well, let's propose a new budget to help deal with this.
Yeah. It's literally Trump like, hey, we need to use the executive power. The retard right saying, let's just accelerate our way out of this. It's like, yeah, that worked so great in South Africa. And then like the rest of the Republican Party that's like, maybe we need a new discretionary budget. I think that might be the way out of this. And potentially we can have some sort of cocktail debate hour. And then we can potentially NPR our way out of this.
I would hope that some of the more the handful of based Congress people in Congress are having some influence. I mean, you look at the administration, right? At least the Trump administration, the executive branch. most of the people in the executive branch are far closer to having their finger on the pulse than anyone in Congress.
Oh, absolutely. Well, for good reason, because they have to like make it through a primary that people actually have eyeballs on, where these congressmen, they just slip through with like one opposition. And there's like a few, I mean, Mary Miller came out and she was like, invoke the Insurrection Act, arrest Tim Walz. Like a few of them are good on this issue, but the vast majority of them are like still hung up on you name it.
Let's jump to this story from Forbes. Tim Walz approves National Guard support for Minnesota police as protests flare up. Tim Walz authorized the state National Guard to be prepared to support local law enforcement in Minnesota on Thursday, responding to protests that erupted after an immigration and customs enforcement agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis Wednesday. Walz's office said in a statement, the Minnesota National Guard will be staged and ready to support local and state law enforcement in protecting critical infrastructure and maintaining public safety, adding his office has every reason to believe that peace will hold. It's funny because he's basically deploying the National Guard against the protesters he's pretending to support. But the rumor is he activated the National Guard to try and preempt Trump from doing so. Now, Trump still can, but the game he's trying to play is, no, we've got a plan already for them. And if Trump comes in, he'll try and claim that Trump is trying to make them unsafe. Now, here's where it gets funny. Over at Kalshi, Tim Walz out as governor. You've got three choices before February. Wow, 3%. Before July, 21%. Before 2027, 32%. The reason why this matters, his term ends January of 2027, and there are people wagering $1.3 million he is going to be removed from office one way or another before that happens. So I do find all of this interesting, considering he dropped out of the race after the Somali fraud scandal was exposed. Now with the shooting, now with the National Guard, I don't believe this guy lasts. I think he's going to get nuked. Before we kick off everything, I want to say shout out to Kalshi for sponsoring the segment. Thanks for sponsoring us. But what do you guys think? You think Walz makes it?
Well, it's tough for him to stay in office or make the case to the people of Minnesota that he should stay in office when he's already conceded that he is not viable as a governor going forward. So at that point, it's just obvious. The question is, then why are you still in office? And again, if the reason why he's dropping out is that the fraud scandal is so detrimental to him that the internal polling has come in and it's like showing him completely underwater, then at a certain point they might have to make the same calculation that the Biden-Kamala administration had to make, which is maybe if we replace you, then I can build up the profile of a potential challenger. It's, again, you can't just say, hey, I am not fit to be governor in 2027 and still claim to be fit for governor in 2026.
Well, he's also been referred to for a criminal prosecution to the DOJ by Anna Paulina Luna.
Yeah.
They were saying Amy Klobuchar could potentially take his place as governor, and then she could appoint him to Senate. Is that true? Is that
Not
the way
if
it
he's
works
in
in
jail.
Minnesota?
Yeah, well, I mean, if he's in jail, no, but
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, yeah.
My idea is that they're going to find somebody who's more corrupt or just as corrupt as him, but just only slightly less retarded, so that they don't screw up and get revealed like he does.
I think Klobuchar still has presidential ambitions, or potentially maybe even vice president ambitions. So I can't imagine her leaving her Senate seat. But there seems to be some fairly high-profile people that are speculating that potentially she could jump into the race.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not really all that. I don't have a strong feeling either way about what will happen should he leave, other than I want to see him face charges.
Yeah.
I think that he's totally involved in the corruption. I think that he's been doing everything he can to cover for the people that are stealing money from the taxpayer, and I want to see him arrested. I want to see a trial, and if it turns out that he is, then I want to see him in jail.
He has a good insurance policy because his lieutenant governor, Peggy Flanagan's even crazier. I mean, if you want to play like some sort of fun drinking game.
Let's talk about him going to jail, though.
I agree. And if you want to play some sort of fun drinking game, go to Peggy Flanagan's Wikipedia and look at what her like native name is. And it's literally like 80 consonants back to back. I mean, this lady is like, you look at her and she quite literally screams HR department. And so Tim Walz has a heck of an insurance policy in which that his lieutenant governor is even crazier than he is.
Yeah, but these are federal charges. So, I mean, yes, maybe Minnesota has an insurance policy to get someone in that would be friendly to Democrats. But if he gets brought up on federal charges of
no, totally agree. I'm just saying, like, you get the scalp, it's still like you're not really solving the issue in Minnesota.
Well, I mean, look, if you put a couple people in jail, I do think that that'll have an effect. Honestly, I
agree.
Think that,
I'm just
because
saying,
people right now, like Tim was saying earlier, like these people believe they're above the law.
Yeah.
And the more we can actually arrest people, have trials, have legitimate proof that they've broken the law, and then they go to jail for it, that's the only way to stop it.
Yeah,
this is also one of those things that moves the revolution forward, because what did he do? He ran for vice president of the United States. Now he's broken the law, and the federal people are going to come after him, And so they're going to, the left could frame it like, look at them coming after their political opponents, because nobody remembers that they went after Trump at this point now. Now this has completely been reframed, but that's just another way to move the revolution forward. I'd also like to add that Amy Klobuchar looks exactly like Madame Medusa from The Rescuers, and I can't ever unsee it. You can pull it up. Yeah.
She's also very, very violent and aggressive.
Yeah.
She like throws combs and or no,
Yeah.
she eats salad with a comb.
salad with a
Oh,
comb.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
she's perfect. She's
weird.
really
Right.
perfect for live action.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, my hope is that there's, because people keep saying all the time, I want to see arrests. I want to see people in jail. And I agree. I do want to, because I believe that there's a ton of corruption. I hope that the investigations happen in California, because I think that they're doing the same kind of thing in California. It looks like they're doing the same kind of thing in Maine. It's happening. I think there was some stuff going on in Ohio. So I want to see all these people arrested, brought up on charges, and I want to see them put in jail.
Well, my initial point wasn't, because I totally agree. I think my initial point is we shouldn't be making arrests in pursuit of better governance, because it's just going to result. The reason you pursue arrests is quite literally justice and sending a message.
Yes, 100%.
That's what it is. It's like there's some people that are like, we got to arrest Ilhan Omar. How could someone like her get in? It's like they're just going to vote for another Somali. It's not that complicated.
The point. Yeah, I agree with you totally. But you look at people saying, "Oh, you got to arrest Trump. You got to arrest Trump." And it's like, fine, J.D. Vance to be the vice president, be the president. So what? It's like, I mean, I don't want to see Trump. I don't particularly want to see Trump arrested, but if he actually did something that was illegal and it was, you had proof, I'd be fine with Donald Trump going to jail. It would be J.D. Vance. No problem. I like J.D. Vance. Cool. Because the point is, I want to see good governance. I want to see, the people that have actually committed crimes, the people that are fleecing the system, the people that are stealing from the taxpayer. I want to see those people face charges, because I want to see less of that in the future. And I do think that deportations tie into that, because I do think that like I was saying earlier, the Somali community in Maine was saying, look, you brought us here, so basically, we voted for you, so you have to cover us when we break the law. He came out and said it, right?
Yeah.
He was like, look, you have to cover for us, and if you don't cover for us, we're not going to vote for you. Well, it's like that seems like, not that I'm particularly versed on what Somali culture is like, but that seems like the way that it works in Somalia, right? Like everybody's in on the take, everybody takes a bribe if they can. You hear about that kind of stuff all over the third world, where it's normal, and if you bring that here and they expect that kind of behavior from Democrats, and Democrats are complying, those people need to go to jail, and the people that are saying, well, you should do this, they need to be deported, because we don't do that here. Like, America's not a third world country, and I'm not okay with it becoming a third world country. So if there are people that are going to try to make it a third world country, send them back.
Yep, so true.
Yeah. Tim Walz is really trying to deflect from the Somali daycare scam and really come up as this leader and this grandfather, father type figure when it comes to this woman that just died, So he gets up and he makes the speech and he's like, we'll bring in the National Guard. And he's like, and there are National Guard. Trump can do the funniest thing because he has significant unilateral power when it comes to the Insurrection Act of 1807. He has the power to determine that conditions amounting to rebellion exists and then deploy federal troops and federalize that National Guard.
Yeah, look, I want to see as much, as many things as the administration can do legally. I want to see them do them. I want to see them do it. I want to see as much pressure put on these people as they possibly can. If it takes nationalizing the National Guard in Minnesota, do it. Like, I don't care, just so long as it's legal, like, by the Constitution, do it. Exercise as much power as you possibly can, because we've said this a bunch. When the Democrats get in, they're going to exercise a lot of power. And at some point, there's going to be some Democrat that's going to win again. Hopefully it won't be the crazy leftist type. Hopefully, I mean, in a perfect world, there would be enough arrests where this kind of stuff would change, and we'd get actually normal Democrats. And so we would have, maybe you're arguing about the marginal tax rate again, and that would be nice. But if you don't put these people in jail, you're only going to get more radicals in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, well, and you're just going to continue to get people, like, the people are so frustrated with everyone sort of playing it fast and loose with the Constitution or making it fit into whatever they're trying to get done. The reason for that is because we're kind of post-Constitution in a lot of ways. Like, the culture that actually made up the country that sort of ratified the Constitution is gone. So the only way we're actually going to restore anything and sort of make the Constitution sort of an active living relevant document is you need to like recreate those conditions that led to people buying into the Constitution in the first place. Where right now, again, like I said, we're post-Constitution. So it's like most people see the Constitution as an impediment to what they're trying to do. When the Constitution was ratified, people were just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's kind of surprising we needed to write that down.
Yeah, and look, I agree with you totally. Like, that's exactly how the left looks at the Constitution. It's an impediment because they think that they should just be able to go ahead and do whatever they want, exercise power. But like you were saying, like the only thing that's going to actually make the Constitution more relevant today is likely a lot more deportations. You know?
You have to restore a populace that reflects that.
I think yes, but there's so much more to the bigger picture. Considering there's many affluent white female liberals, we've seen this for 10 years now. The liberals have an out-group preference.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that's solved just by saying we're going to arrest criminals. This country is split between a psychotic death cult and everyone else. How do you solve for that? There's no off-ramp.
Well, deportations are a start.
Deportations target many people who aren't actively fomenting and engaging in these things. It does help in terms of voting for sure, but you'll still have leftist, white, college-educated Antifa types who are going to shoot you in the face.
Yeah. I mean, and look, you're going to have. There's definitely going to be significant civil unrest in the future.
I have no idea why I can't pause this video.
There's going to be civil unrest from this kind of stuff, sure. But if we get the government that we should have, I think that it'll take a lot of arrests and a lot of putting people in jail, but you could actually stamp that kind of stuff out.
And founding fathers.
I disagree. I think it'll take a lot more than that. But let's do this. Here's a video from Raws Alerts. This is breaking out of New York. Large crowds have gathered and are calling for the execution of Kristi Noem. So you heard him. They said Kristi Noem will hang. And we also have this posted by Rapid Response 47. Apparently we don't got audio. Where's the audio on this thing? Let me refresh it. It says it's working. Nope. Yeah, we're not getting audio out of this one. It says, left-wing agitators threaten the lives of our immigration officials. We're going to effing find you. We're going to effing kill you. You're going to effing die, bitch. Directly inspired by Democrat politicians, they say. So arrests aren't going to get us out of this. You can take a look at every revolution or civil war. Arrests just agitate. If you go around arresting a bunch of these leftists, they will use that and recruit with it. So what I see with all of this going on is the hyperpolarization in this country is so extreme. You're not going to go in and arrest 80% of California. And 80% of California is going to, maybe not 80, but 70% holds these views. So if you go and arrest Antifa, the entirety of the people in California are like, you're wrong.
Well, then everything that follows is just TOS violations.
When it comes to our Constitution, John Adams to Patrick Henry, they all said that our Constitution would only work if we all shared a similar moral framework, and they had related that to like a Christian moral framework. But now we have people who take bribes and eat cats and eat dogs and want you dead for disagreeing with them. That's not a shared moral framework. It feels like the only way that we could all survive is with a national divorce, is to separate the country into two and say, okay, Republicans over here and liberals over here. And that's not going to work either.
That won't work because of natural resources as well as weapon depots.
And nobody wants to give up that kind of power.
Well, not to mention that we don't have any states that are like overwhelmingly one party. Like most states are like 60-40.
The best thing to do is...
that's the same thing for the American Civil War. So the first Civil War, as it were.
Yep.
You will get people voting, and there's always going to be a degree of people who disagree. In the American Revolution, you had the Declaration of Dependence, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
They had the Declaration of Dependence, which was it was the loyalists' answer to the Declaration of Independence.
Right, and there was maybe around 20 to 30% were loyalists.
Yep.
Those are still like regional pockets where in America it's like one city in a state is deep blue and then the rest of the state's red. Where back then it was more geographically based. So a national divorce, it's like, okay, for example, you split off Illinois. Well, it's still going to be Chicago.
But that was true in the Civil War. Virginia initially voted 2-1 against joining the Confederacy. And then after Abraham Lincoln dispatched troops, they voted 2-1 in favor of the Confederacy.
Right.
You still had a third of the state. Maryland, for instance, Abraham Lincoln went and arrested them all. And they were locked out, basically. Delaware and Maryland were slave states, but they were north of D.C. The point is, yes, look, if California decided to secede or something like that, the conservatives in California aren't going to be like, oh no. They're going to be like, whatever you say, man. Because California is going to be like, we'll take your homes from you. We'll seize your assets. They're going to be like, no, just whatever you say, man. And the liberals in the red areas are going to be like, look, just whatever you say, man. You will get partisan violence.
Yeah.
Pockets will pop up. That happens everywhere all the time. But largely, I don't think that's the biggest factor. The bigger factor is going to be that Arizona is going to cease to exist, that Nevada will cease to exist. Whoever controls the Colorado River is going to shut California down. So Southern California, oh man, can you imagine what would happen if they just locked out the Colorado River? And you got 13 to 20 million people in SoCal who will no longer have drinking water.
Walking Dead.
Oh, dude, they're going to be eating each other and drinking blood.
Not to mention, like, the thing that frustrates me a little bit about the national divorce rhetoric, among other things, is like this has been the case for the last 70 years in the United States. Is it's just the right making concessions. It's never the left making concessions. So the only situation in which a national divorce would ever actually occur would be the right, like, walking away from the table. And that's really frustrating. Like, I do think we're past time where the right should be playing for keeps. I think the right should be imposing their will on the left rather than the sort of the right always retreating at every single.
If the right said we're going to secede, the left would say we're going to kill you now.
So be it. Like, we go at it.
But like, my point is, regardless of what you want to do, war happens.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
And
so
I think
everyone should start playing Milsim Airsoft.
Yeah, that's an example of where I think the right should feel a little confident in themselves.
The best
if it
thing
were
for
ever
I
to
people to
disagree.
blows.
do.
We've heard this all the time about how conservatives are just better and they're armed. Well, California has National Guard too, and they have military. And when California goes to their young enlisted people who are trained, they are going to side with Gavin Newsom.
Yes, I agree. But, like, for example, you do have red state National Guard still. And
Yep.
then as well, the Trump administration is making massive changes. Pete Hegseth has been making massive changes in the structure of the military. Probably, not primarily, but probably in anticipation in case something were to happen, there will be a loyalty test within the military. And that's why it's so important to be, like, taking out all these woke generals.
Indeed, because the hope is when Trump flicks the switch, the military and the National Guard in these states side with the federal government and shut down the Democrats. But that would mean we come to a point where Democrats are like, that's it, we are no longer adhering to the U.S. Constitution, and then the U.S. military removes them from power to keep union cohesion. If that happens. Otherwise, what happens is Gavin Newsom comes out and says, I'm in command now, and you will not listen to Trump. And you can go to some enlisted or, even an officer to a certain degree in California and say, I'm going to take your home from you.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to take your bank account from you. And they're going to be like, no, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, because this was before in the Biden years where people would make this argument and they'd be like, well, the majority of guys in the military are conservative, which is true. But, like, as we can see with, like, police unions, it's tougher when you threaten people's livelihoods. You just end up shaking out a lot of those guys. Like the military we saw during COVID, they passed the vaccine mandate, and that shook out a lot of our best guys.
Yep.
And so
And they banned the Gadsden flag.
Yeah,
They went around to social media profiles and removed people who had Gadsden flag, despite it being the flag of Virginia.
yeah. So it's like, even if it's true now that the majority of the military is based, and that is true, at least the guys that make up the military are based, they will come up with mechanisms to shake out the based guys before it really comes to blows. Like, they're not going to roll in and just hope these guys are going to be loyal to them.
That's true, but like if they shake those guys out, those guys don't like forget the things that they knew in the military.
Oh,
So they may
100%.
not
That's
have-
why either way.
I just, people live in movies, man. Commie Butcher says, National Guard will not side with New Scum. Okay. Y'all watched Rambo? The National Guard, there are cooks, there are chefs, they work in our kitchens and our schools, they're our neighbors. People seem to think that National Guard are the same thing as the Army. When there's a dude who works on weekends for the California National Guard and Newsom threatens to take your children from you, he is going to lick Gavin Newsom's feet. And you know what? I know it's crass and probably offensive, and it's meant to be a little bit, but I guarantee you, with the left not having children and the right having kids, that's a tremendous amount of leverage the left will use against you. And you will see there's going to be a guy, it's as simple as a guy you've known forever pointing his gun at you and saying, I'm sorry, but I won't let my kids die. Right? If there's a natural disaster and there's two houses Each family has children. They got 2 kids. The kids are diabetic. I guarantee you, if House A runs out of insulin, the dad is going to go to put a bullet in the mouth of the other dad to get the insulin for his daughter. They're not going to watch their children die. And this is the basis of much of earthly conflict that we have seen. People saying, go near my kids and I will end you. Or my kids need food and I will do whatever I have to do to get it. And inversely, powerful people saying, if you don't serve me, I will kill your kids. And this is not going to be explicit, but this is the question asked of the generals in the Civil War, my home or my country. And if where you live and the food you have and your resources are tied to the governance of a Democrat, these people are not going to be hyper-partisan. They're going to say, tell me where to stand. And that's the conflict you're going to get. Trump is then going to go to loyalist states and he's going to say, quell the rebellion, and then you get fighting. Right now, we're looking through the thin veneer of this, with Tim Walz deploying the National Guard, stating we will not let the federal government use us as a prop. He's saying the National Guard's being deployed to stop Trump and the feds. And now they're literally fighting federal law enforcement. We saw already in Portland when the feds the local police aided and abetted Antifa, who had been obstructing ICE. And ICE went to arrest them, and the local cops protected them. Or the arrest of Nick Sorter. I don't understand why people don't get this. No cop would arrest an innocent conservative. They've been doing it. Did Andy Ngo get any help from these people? Did you guys see what happened to Nick Sorter the other day when he called Minneapolis PD and said, they're threatening me, I need help? They said, we're not going to help you. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, too effing bad. And then he got chased and had to evacuate. Imagine calling the police in Minnesota thinking they're going to help you. The police in Minnesota are Antifa. They are the left. You're basically, Antifa, quick, help me save me from Antifa.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do for people is to get to a state that represents your values. And I know people say, oh, you always say that. Well, I did it. I lived in Massachusetts and I moved to Florida, and I suggest other people do that. Our Constitution was designed to be limited central government, and they proposed it. And with it, it came up with the general welfare clause, the necessary and proper clause, the supremacy clause. And, New York hated it, and Rhode Island hated it, and North Carolina hated it. So John Hancock was like, hey, guys, how about a Bill of Rights? And like, yeah, that's a great idea. So then James Madison wrote the Bill of Rights. So what that means is that there's the 9th Amendment and the 10th Amendment. The 9th Amendment says just because we didn't write it down, it's not a right. And the 10th Amendment says, well, if it's not written in the articles, then that right belongs to the states and to the individual. So we saw that during COVID, where, Florida was free. Florida didn't have any policies going on with COVID, but New York was all locked down and California was all locked down, and these states were failing. And we saw states' rights in action. We saw it work in action so well. The central government that we have now has grown mammoth proportions. We still have states' rights, and we're still able to live in states that are freer.
We don't. States' rights?
Yes.
I think the 10th Amendment has been, the Bill of Rights is Swiss cheese.
Why do you think Florida looks so different from New York?
Because the federal government hasn't decided to go and crush them.
Why wouldn't they have decided under Biden and Kamala to go and crush DeSantis?
Resources, time, energy, and different priorities. They certainly opened the border to allow a bunch of illegal immigrants to come into the country in places like Texas. And then they sent federal law enforcement to go and fight with Texas National Guard. So did that violate the rights of Texas?
When
Biden sent federal agents to go fight Texas State Guard?
What are you referencing?
Biden cut down the concertina wire on the border of Texas, and he removed the barriers in Arizona.
When it comes to the border, that's Article 4, Section 4. So that's actually the government.
So the states have no right to protect their borders.
I believe they do.
But is that reserved to them in any way?
Yes. So when the federal government is not protecting the border, so the federal government came in and said, hey, we're in charge of the border here. And they got in and did that. However, if they're not fulfilling their duty, the 10th Amendment comes in and says, okay, since they're not fulfilling their duty, then that means the states have the right to fulfill their duty. So that's when Texas brought in the guard, and that's when Florida sent their guard over to defend the border as well, when the federal government was shirking their duty.
So like the vaccine mandates, those were all state level?
Yeah, right.
And when the federal government tried to make it mandatory that businesses with more than 100 employees, that was not state level.
Some of
They
it was.
attempted and they went to the Supreme Court.
Right. So I think it's fair to say that certainly it's in the Constitution, but we don't have constitutional rights. The federal government does it if they want to.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, like Mao was right. All power comes out of the barrel of a gun. So yes, the government has the government has the power.
I think the better phrase is might makes.
Yeah, might makes right.
No, I didn't say might makes right.
Well, might
might makes. No one ever said anything about being moral or correct, but those with might will get what they want.
Yeah.
And the left is exerting it and they're proving it. And what they do is when you challenge them on this, they respond with, so you're saying might makes right? I never said it was right. I said you're doing evil things, but if you have the power to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen for a long time. Congress is largely symbolic. Yeah. When was the last time we declared a war? Deploying National Guard from states overseas, I would argue that violates state rights.
It does.
Yeah. So when has the Bill of Rights actually been applied? The Constitution was written down, and today everyone is a textualist, not an originalist. Because if we were originalists, we wouldn't have guns. The states could ban them. If we were originalists, it would be illegal to blaspheme. But we're textualists. So right now, the problem people have is they say liberals are textualists and we're originalists, but we're not. Everyone. So for those that aren't familiar, it means liberals argue the text of the law as it applies to our language, and originalists argue what was the intent of the article of the amendment. Neither liberals nor conservatives believe in the true original text of the Constitution. Neither. For like example being, Second Amendment originally was that the federal government couldn't ban you from having guns, but states could. That's why in the 80s, you couldn't get guns.
Well, most of the states constitution reflect the
Indeed, so it's separate. The Second Amendment was explicitly that federal law enforcement of any kind or military couldn't take your guns from you. Now, if the state wanted to, they could. And in fact, that was normal. You'd ride up into town on your horse, and the deputy would say, "Sir, hand over your weapons." And you'd go, "Okay, now we've changed that." Free speech is a great example. I think it wasn't until 1840 was like the last blasphemy case. We have free speech, but you better not say naughty things about Christ the Lord.
I feel like this argument ignores the Ninth Amendment, because the Ninth Amendment says that the freedoms or the liberties protected by the Constitution or in the Bill of Rights are not intended to say that these are the only freedoms they have. So basically, what the Ninth Amendment does is it reaffirms that people are free. Right? It says just because it's not specifically stated in here.
What does that have to do with what I'm saying?
Because you're saying, oh well, they could do this.
The original intention of the First Amendment did not include blasphemy.
Yeah, but
we've changed it.
But then when you go, the way that it works though is you're assumed to be free to be able to do what you want. The original intent doesn't specify anything, so you have to go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, this is actually in violation. And the court has
but just to make sure we clarify and get it down to brass tacks here. My point is that in 1789, the First Amendment did not protect blasphemy. In 2026, it does.
Was it brought before the Supreme Court and then they reversed it, or were you just saying that those laws were passed? Because the way that it works is you're assumed to be free, you're assumed to do whatever you want.
I think
then states
blasphemy
can pass.
is still illegal in some states. And it's a cultural thing where we stopped enforcing against it.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making is you're assumed to be free and do whatever you want. Things that are in the Constitution are specifically protected. You're assumed to be free by the Ninth Amendment, and then states will go ahead and pass laws, and they'll try to infringe on your rights. And then if you go and you petition the government, you say, look, this is actually protected. Then the Supreme Court will say, okay, yes or no, that isn't.
I'm not following. The federal government said you can't blaspheme.
When did the federal government say that?
In 1791, that's true.
Really?
It's what I had gone back to saying about how we needed a shared moral framework.
The states required you to proclaim a belief in a Protestant God to hold office, and many still do, despite the fact they don't enforce against it.
So
the point is, everybody says the Constitution must be protected, but they don't realize that we, even people on the right, libertarians, conservatives, or otherwise, pro-Second Amendment, do not adhere to the original intent of the Founding Fathers.
Yeah, because
otherwise you'd be arrested for blasphemy.
If you have a law, there's a law that you believe infringes on your rights, or you believe that is in conflict with the Constitution, you petition the government, you go to the courts.
I agree.
And then you go.
What the Founding Fathers did not intend for the First Amendment to allow you to besmirch the name of Christ.
Yep.
Just because they said that, and doesn't mean that
they wrote the Ninth Amendment, They did not believe you could besmirch Christ. Your ability to argue to a liberal you can does not change the intent of the Constitution.
It's not about arguing to the liberals.
This is
bringing it to
why
the Supreme
blasphemy
Court.
became legal, because the progressives of the time said, I want to insult Christ. And most people said, no, you can't. I don't care what amendment you cite. That was never allowed. But eventually, over time, progressives argue, I can do what I want. So where we are today, and this is exactly my point, progressives argue free speech is shoving a cop, and now they shove cops. The founding fathers never intended for you to have the right to attack militia, military, or law enforcement. Just because you can argue to a judge and that judge says you can do an illegal thing doesn't mean it was protected under the Constitution.
Yeah, we get so many examples of this now. Like when the whole debate was happening over whether or not we should take firearms away from transgenders. That's one of those things. Is like if you propose the entire situation to the founding fathers, be like, "What? What are you?
They had
talking about?"
asylum issues.
Yeah,
they
they would
they,
go
they
crazy.
would take them
They
away
had
from
like
people.
crazy people clauses,
let me-
but like
let me-
now
let me-
you can just get a judge to say, "No, that's the Constitution."
This is the point that I'm making. The Constitution was intended to protect the society and the rights that they had actively. And they recognized that they would have some arguments and disputes, but 100% of the population agreed. No one can insult Christ. To be fair, it wasn't 100 because Jefferson was a deist, and that's why Virginia didn't require you to proclaim a belief in a Protestant God, but God in general. Maryland, largely being Catholic. Required you to was also more neutral because they were like Protestant, Catholic, whatever you want to do. Almost all the states up until the mid 1700s required you to literally say Christ is king to hold office.
I profess Jesus Christ to be my Lord and Savior. If you
yes.
wanted to hold,
Okay.
yep.
Also,
And
Maryland
the
was
founding fathers, when they made the Bill of Rights, if you went to any one of them and said, hold on, but under the Ninth Amendment, I'm free, so I can make an argument to the court, they'd say, no, you're under arrest. And it wasn't until I think 1840 was the last arrest for blasphemy. And the reason the guy actually, I think, went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you blasphemed, and he got locked up. Blasphemy is illegal, and you have no right to blasphemy. That's not
Because
free
God
speech.
was held above the government.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, Maryland was majority Protestant by the 1700s.
Nope, Maryland was majority Catholic.
It was majority
Catholic. It's
Protestant.
still
Catholic.
I bet
Yep.
my entire life savings that it was majority Protestant by the 1700s.
maybe
Initially,
by
the initial
1700s.
batch were English Catholics, but then it became a Protestant colony. They all
Carroll of
conformed.
Carrollton was the signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was the only Catholic to sign the Declaration of Independence, and he came from Maryland, where they were Catholic.
Yeah, there was initially a Catholic colony.
Yeah, for sure. But that's probably
But
why
then by
their
the
stance
1700s, it
was
Protestant.
they didn't require Protestant. They required a Christian God.
That was more related to like Freemasonry. The same with Virginia.
Yeah, and then I think throughout the 1700s, they started backing off from requiring you to have a faith in a Christian God. And then, but it was still the practice. It was still largely done. So anyway, long story short, the point is the Second Amendment, what was the point? If you lived in Virginia, the federal government couldn't come and take your guns. Virginia could. That's why in the 1980s, everything was may issue. If you wanted a gun, the states could decide not to give you one. And the Fed was like, don't look at us. We're not taking your guns from you. But then we sued, and it wasn't until 2010 the Supreme Court actually said, nah, everybody can have guns. Because what's happening is, and it's intentional, states' rights are being eroded intentionally over time, and we're in favor of it. When we argue the federal government, the federal Constitution protects my right to have a gun in West Virginia for constitutional carry, I am saying the federal Constitution supersedes the laws and the Constitution of West Virginia. Okay, then that's federal supremacy over the Constitution and laws of a state. And that's the argument being made by conservatives, that Maryland shouldn't be allowed to ban you from having guns. And we are winning in that fight, giving the federal government more power to tell the states you can't.
Yes,
Which is interesting because nowhere in the Constitution does it say states can't ban guns.
Nope, states can regulate a right. So that was the ruling. States could regulate a right. So, for instance, speech. You can't ban the speech. You can't ban it, but you can regulate it into submission. You can say, okay, well, you need a permit. You need a permit to protest here. You can do it between these times and that sort of thing. And then when it comes to guns, they can't ban them, but they can regulate them into submission. And so that's where states' rights.
We have to squeeze in one more segment. This is from the New York Post.
Excellent.
Baba Vanga has predicted an alien spaceship would enter Earth's atmosphere and the outbreak of World War III will happen in 2026. Well, that proves it.
Who's Baba Vanga?
Oh, what?
I know.
You don't know Baba Vanga?
I do not know
The
Baba
clairvoyant?
Vanga. I'm going to go and look.
It's her.
Oh, okay.
The blind
trust her.
Bulgarian mystic Baba Vanga made some frightening predictions for 2026, including aliens and the start of World War III.
Well, there's that. What is it? L3, whatever.
Yep.
Meteor that's coming, or if it's
What is it?
interstellar spaceship.
Yeah. What was that?
I forget what it's called.
I'm forgetting the name of it. What's the object called that everyone's freaking out about?
Walsh was talking about it like today. or
Three
yesterday.
something.
Yeah, it was like a
There's an
Wi-Fi
object
password.
that they can't identify that's
Like
coming toward us. Yeah.
Wi-Fi
Yeah, it looked like a Minnesota city council.
3i Atlas.
3i Atlas.
That's
there
what
you
it
go.
was. That's like an
3i
Elon.
Atlas is accelerating and decelerating in ways that don't make sense, and it originated from the location of the WOW signal.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Indeed.
I've heard of the WOW signal. I didn't know that it originated there though.
The WOW signal was in the 70s. Astronomers were tracking a certain a region of space, and they saw a radio burst that did not look natural and hasn't been repeated that they think may have originated from intelligent life. Well, 3i Atlas is believed to have originated from the same region of space.
It's called the WOW signal because the guys that read it were just like, wow.
Well, I
they
thought
wrote-
it was
they
like he
wrote
wrote
next to
wow
it.
on it.
That's legit.
He
Like that's
circled it
not.
and wrote wow.
I'm not just making a joke. That's actually what they did.
So awesome. I love
3i Atlas is coming. So clairvoyant Baba Vanga, long believed by devotees to have foreseen 9/11 and the COVID-19 pandemic, predicted alien visitors in World War III. They say she warned that a colossal alien spacecraft would enter Earth's atmosphere, though she did not elaborate on their intentions. The prediction has taken on added intrigue for some believers amid an uptick in reported UFOs, blah, 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 UAP, they say. And of course, it's funny. If we literally just read the article, 3i Atlas is right there. Among her most ominous forecasts was a warning that World War III would erupt in 2026, a prediction made more unsettling by rising global tensions.
Yeah.
Let's add this. Mystery as America's nuclear sniffer jet makes strange journey across several states. Why is the U.S. nuclear sniffer patrolling South Dakota and Nebraska? North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. Very strange. How about this? U.S. Navy chasing oil tankers fleeing Venezuelan waters. Around a dozen Venezuelan tankers are being pursued by the U.S. for seizure. I think Baba Vanga may be right.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means about the aliens, though, but aliens and World War III at the same time. Maybe World War III gets so hot that we're all about to fire nukes, and then the aliens appear and stop us.
Well, that's awful white pilled.
Yeah.
You know, like the idea that we're going to kill ourselves and then the aliens come and say, hold on.
We launch nukes at each other, blow everybody up, and then the aliens come and harvest the rest.
Yeah, they reseed. Like everyone's dead and they're just like, all right, we're going to drop.
Why wouldn't they have intervened during the atom bomb?
They allegedly did.
Well, it takes time to get here.
The aliens intervened?
Yes.
Excellent.
There's a conspiracy theory that at some point in like the 70s during the Cold War, there was an attempt to launch nukes between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and UFOs appeared, and then all of a sudden the nukes deactivated.
Interesting.
Or what
Yeah.
if there
Well,
is
no, we're not.
aliens
There is
actively intervening and they just suck?
There is a theory there's a theory that aliens are actually interdimensional beings, so you could be angels or demons intervening too.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
The Malmstrom UFO incident. I don't know if this is the exact incident. I just looked it up. 1996, retired Air Force personnel claimed that a weapons failure at a Montana nuclear missile complex in 1967 was connected to reports of a UFO at Malmstrom Air Force Base. The claims became known as in ufology as the Malmstrom UFO incident. Skeptics argue that UFO was likely Mars and entirely unrelated. A military investigation found no connection to UFOs. They say they're operating underground missile complex. An Air Force report noted that on the 16th, all sites in Echo Flight shut down with no-go indications. All launch facilities in E-Flight lost strategic alert nearly simultaneously. No other Wing 1 configuration lost strategic alert at the time. The report continued rumors of UFO around the area during the time of the fault were disproven. That's the conspiracy theory is that the aliens came and stopped us or whatever from nuclear war, which, this proves it. So
It's kind of like when I stop my kids from fighting. Yep.
I think there's probably like the New York Post has a list of like weird Eastern European mystics that make a prediction every year.
Hitting land.
What happened?
And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. But the cartels are running and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are
okay, the U.S. is going to start bombing Mexico now.
What did you think Dunn Road Doctrine looked like? Vibes, essays? It looks like we're getting after it, run for the hills, get the donkeys moving. It's time to clear out
I think
cartels.
Baba Vanga was correct.
Maybe she was cooking. Or this is going to be or Trump's going to clutch up here. I think
Cooking
Trump's just going to
crack,
clutch.
I
I think
guess.
Trump's going to clutch. I don't see Mexico as a viable opponent to start World War III. The Zimmerman telegraph days are over.
I mean, what does Mexico even have? Tacos?
Yeah, literally, what are they going to
We
do?
have
Like,
tacos. We have Taco Bell.
yeah, their best weapon against the United States is just sending their people here. Like, I don't think they're going to be too violent. This should be pretty easy, I think. Not too worried.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you know, it's what happens. Look, I mean, Baba Vanga, if she actually did predict 9/11 and predict the COVID thing, you know, we'll see what happens for this year. I don't know that I tend to believe in.
I think there's an Eastern European mystic that predicted every year, because like she died in like the 90s. There's probably someone named like Wooba Dooba, and she predicted 2027 is the year where the aliens come here and World War III breaks out. And the New York Post just has a list of these articles ready to go every year. Because it's like every year I learn about a new blind mystic who has this
to play devil's advocate, like tensions are actually very high with the U.S. going after all these ships and stuff. I've made remarks that I don't think that there's considerable danger of world war because of the fact that like Russia's kind of shown that it's a paper tiger. It can't even beat Ukraine. China, I don't think that China has any kind of designs beyond the South China Sea and Taiwan. I don't think they want a nuclear war. It's possible that a world war could be something that isn't nuclear, where everyone's kind of just using conventional weapons. I guess that's possible. Maybe there will be aliens on the starship that's coming.
more likely to be than World War III.
I mean, to be honest,
Israel and Iran went to blows last summer, and like nothing really came out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
if they can go to blows and then it doesn't like kick off a domino effect, it's going to take a lot to like string the Axis powers together. So to speak.
We just talk about how much Dick Cheney and John McCain would just love this timeline. Like they're cooing Venezuela for oil. I mean, these guys would just be all over it. They'd want to spend $20 trillion to do it, but I'm just saying, you know. We gotta. They're looking up. They're looking up at us.
I saw a thing today that among the right, the conservatives, the actions taken in Venezuela are like 94% positive. Like everybody's like, that was a great move.
Well, but among non-MAGA conservatives, 80%.
Yeah, because like if the
because like Tucker and
sure.
Megyn Kelly.
Well, and if Venezuela was like such an obvious play for neocons, they would have done it. I mean, they would have had the justification like decades ago. Like this is a big departure from Iraq and Afghanistan, at least in my assessment. I don't think Dick Cheney would be like exuberant over America like exercising its strength on the global stage. I think he would rather see like a quagmire there, maybe like a slow invasion. Oh, we don't need to capture Maduro yet. Maybe we should apply some pressure here.
Because he wants to spend money.
He wants to spend money. Yeah, exactly.
So
this is too quick and too efficient.
Yeah, they hate that. They would like to see some paychecks cut first.
Yeah,
rather than Delta Force just Friday night. Boys, let's head down there, and then we'll be back in Miami by the evening. What do you guys think?
I think those guys are actually heading to the Middle East again.
Could be.
There's all the movement of the 160th SOAR moving into Europe, and that's the Night Stalkers.
We need the aliens to come. Like evil or good, it doesn't matter. If they're good, then we can all hold hands and they can grant us technology. If they're evil, we'll have a unified enemy. It's just win-win.
We need the Space Jam aliens, because the Oklahoma City Thunder are looking a little too good this year, and I think potentially we could have maybe the Monstars. I think maybe the Monstars come back.
I'm not sold on interstellar travel, like between stars. Like I'm not so sure that it's possible. Obviously, if there's some new physics that we can find, yeah, but it's looking like light speed is the speed limit of the universe. I mean, even gravity travels at light speed, right? So if the sun disappeared, not only would the light take 8 minutes to get here, but it would take 8 minutes for the effect of gravity from the sun to
just go between space.
Yeah, so if that's possible, yeah,
Bro,
okay.
Come on.
Otherwise,
Star Trek used this in the 60s. The idea being that you don't travel faster than light, you create a warp bubble and move between space.
Yeah.
So you're not actually moving at all.
Yeah, and so look, if that can happen, then you actually don't break the rules of physics. You know, you don't actually travel faster than light. Fine.
Warp bubbles are theoretically possible.
Yeah, the amount of energy that it would take to bend space, like that is.
You need antimatter.
Yeah, you would have.
We got some.
A tiny.
We have like a trillionth of a kilogram or something.
It's a very small amount, and it takes a lot of energy to prevent it from interacting with matter because you have to. Yeah, you have to
put a magnet ring.
It takes a massive amount of energy to control that stuff.
What about when you add in the atom smasher to it? Can that tear a hole into the space-time continuum?
The theory behind warp drive would be smashing antimatter in a matter like in a piston, which warps, emits so much energy it causes a warp in space. something like that.
You have to compress space in front of you and extend space behind you for a warp drive to work.
And they describe it like putting a marble in a straw and then squeezing the straw. The marble is pushed forward.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So again, if there's some kind of new physics found, but I'm still short on the idea of interstellar
Some
travel.
physics DLC would be nice. Just update the whole software. It's just getting a little boring.
What if
Weinstein
like
said
just
that.
in 20 years we magic is real and like scientists are like we've actually figured out how to cast spells and then just
That'd be sick.
yeah.
Well,
And
if we keep having to,
teleportation would be sick.
yeah, we keep
right?
having to read these Somali names. Eventually, someone's going to cast a spell.
One of the best things about teleportation
That's how
is
they
like
find it. They're going through a list of Somali names and all of a sudden just fired.
Who did it
Like, wait a
hum on?
minute.
And then all of a sudden this starts floating. They're like, whoa!
it's the magic of the Somalis.
Ice starts casting spells.
Look, if-
abracadabra, get out of here! And just flings them
tele-
back to their country.
If teleportation were real, I think that Jeff Bezos would probably have found it, and he would be
Wouldn't that-
delivering
Stephen
things
Miller would have found it.
instantaneously.
Stephen
Yeah.
Miller would have been all
just
over
imagine,
it.
wouldn't it be based if there was like a portal gun where you could shoot somebody and it would portal them to any location you want? So like Ice just walks around, walking up to people and going
Yeah.
like, and
You're
then
out.
disappear back
You're
to
out.
Oh,
Mexico
that'd be
City.
so efficient.
I
The
guarantee
gun
you,
would have to be called due process.
Yeah, I guarantee you Stephen Miller's working on it. He's got that in the works.
He's pretty
Yeah.
great. He's
Yeah.
pretty great.
Zap, and then blink, you're back in Somalia.
Gone. See ya. There's no fighting with ice or anything like that. The car's coming. Boop. Car disappears
But then there's
too.
like a technical glitch in that they accidentally release a bunch of the portal guns, all programmed from the same coordinates. And so when too many ICE agents go at the same time, all the Somalis portal into the exact same place at the exact same time, all fused together like some Cronenberg mess.
mega
Giga
Somali.
Somalia.
Giga Somali.
And he comes
No,
back for
Cronenberg.
revenge.
Or even worse is they go to Dearborn and they start zapping with the portal gun, and then they're like, "Oh, it didn't work."
I just
Because
imagine
they
if
look around, they're just like, "Oh, well, I guess it didn't work." This
if
portal
they
gun's
all
overrated.
if they all combine together, I just imagine him like walking back to the United States, like it's like Godzilla under the sea, just coming here to smash us
Yeah.
for sending him back.
Yeah, they'll be mad.
They would be upset.
They would
They're
be
like,
pretty
"Oh, we
upset.
can't get your money anymore."
I would be pissed if I got fused in with everybody else like that. Dude, I'd be mad.
Yeah,
I would not be happy. I would picket the UN. That's what I would do. I would appeal to international law.
They would go to New York. They would be smashing things in New York. That's what Godzilla would do if he were here now.
All right, everybody, we're going to go to your Rumble rants and Super Chats. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Before we do, head over to castbrew.com and pick up some 1776 Signature Blend Josie Special American Cream.
It is so good. It's actually got 95% positive ratings, I was told. That's like unheard of. Yeah. So it's really good. It's got like vanilla and chocolate vibes. It smells so good. And I don't even really like coffee. I can drink this black. It doesn't even need sugar or anything. It tastes so good. It's amazing.
And when they buy a bag, they get a picture of you.
They do. Look at that.
A picture of you.
The haters will say it's photoshopped.
Of course they will.
Well, I mean, I think it is. Like, a lot of graphic work went into this one. I wonder what's on the back.
Yeah, Jessica
Sometimes
did
we
a great
put
job.
gags on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well, the gag is that's actually the
I have
because they're
to-
yellow. It's the EU flag, not the American flag.
I have to announce this. The next coffee that we're doing for February is Dr. Alex Stein's Big Booty Latina Love Potion.
Amazing.
And it's him in a suit in like a pink velvety office with a pipe. And it's, what is it, like cinnamon or something? I don't know. We'll see when it comes out. You'll see. And the bag is very, very funny.
Alex Stein's funny.
Yeah, the bag is
he's
very
so
funny.
When's the next time
There
we're
are
going to
jokes
see
on
him?
Mm-hmm.
To get him
He was
back.
on my show today. You can go watch him on the
really?
Culture War
Okay.
right now.
That's right.
Awesome.
All right, let's get your Rumble rants and Super Chats. Let's see what we got. All right, we got DeWind. DeWinde says, Chat, every call to violence you make here will be used against you. Indeed.
True.
Force name change says, I would advise Walt, say Tampon Tim, Texas National Guard, New England National Guard, Minnesota National Guard. They're all National Guard. The state name denotes location, not allegiance. All right, Malababy says, that's why copy and paste your favorite Bible quotes instead of talk-ish, because they will use what you say against you. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I need to know more about
Force
it.
name changes. I'll make a bet on who that family member is. I'll put $100 down to say that it was her 15-year-old daughter from her first husband that told her stepmother that it's her fault her mom's gone. It was apparently her mother. Yeah.
You lost the bet.
All right. Let's see. Grim Gaming says they delayed the gunshots in that New York Times video too. Did they really? It does seem like it. It seemed like they sped up a part of it too.
They definitely sped up a part of it.
Well, they're dishonest acts.
Yep.
Can't expect honesty from the New York Times. They have an agenda.
All right. David Flores says, Tim, please stop giving her so much credit. No one shoots to maim. Likewise, no one drives another human with the intent to maim. She might not have thought he'd die, but she didn't care either. Literally what I said is, I don't think her intention was kill. She just didn't care if she killed while she was fleeing.
Yeah.
Capo Sooth says, Trump resigns February 1st, 2027. Vance can finish the term and serve 2 more, enters 2028 with a record.
I mean, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's
no. Even if they, like, that's not in Donald Trump's, like, that's not in his character.
Indeed. All right. Omega Rosetsu says, Phil doesn't understand what third world actually means. First world means NATO. Second world was Warsaw Pact, but now it's BRICS. Third world meant not NATO, not communist. Fourth world is a client state.
Yeah, I mean, people, it's like, yeah, but now third world in the,
This means impoverished.
yeah, and the zeitgeist just means like brown. Broadly, I mean,
Or
it's not
brown
wrong.
people is what it means.
Yeah.
Flex the Juvat says, I'm a pilot in USAF. Our bus driver's daughter needs serious medical care. Lost my 5-year-old daughter and don't want the same for him.
Sucks.
Give send go / Roberto. Even a share will help. Hi, Phil.
Hi, we'll share that.
Sorry to hear, man. That's horrible. I
terrible.
hope everybody can do what they can.
Tweet it at me and I'll retweet it and stuff.
Jay Hamblin says, Tim, isn't that what Andrew Wilson was arguing with you about? His point was rights are only what you can enforce. Yet no. My opinion on Andrew Wilson was that he was arguing for the sake of arguing. Because my argument is that rights are derived from God's will. The things that you must do to be fruitful and multiply, he argued that that's true, but not like, here's the issue with the debate we had. He said rights come from God. And I said, effectively, yes, rights are what we must do to fulfill God's will. And then he said no. And so I was like, what? And yeah. So when I tried explaining that there's a logic to God's will, because God is the Logos, he disagreed and then argued with me that there's an island full of pedophiles that get away with it. And how is anything they're doing beneficial to God's will or whatever? And I was like, the presumption of that argument is that it is possible for a society of pedophiles to succeed and fulfill God's will, which clearly everyone agrees is not correct. So I think he was just arguing for the sake of arguing. My point is, what are rights as we view them? The left argues that healthcare is a human right. Well, that can't be true because that would require you to enslave somebody. You have a right to enslave somebody because that person then can't fulfill God's will. But if your goal is to be fruitful and multiply, you have to be able to defend yourself. You have to be able to communicate with other people for the betterment and success, either through warnings or cooperation. And you have to have freedom of movement. We also have to have the ability to stop evil people who are evil. These are core functions that we view in our society, our enlightened society, as being rights, things that you are inherently needing to do or able to do. And why? Because if you can't fulfill God's will. Anyway, I think he disagrees with that. I think his argument is it's not about whether you can or can't fulfill God's will, just that it is God's will, which I think is a distinction with no difference. Token Mega says, I don't understand this argument. Go to a state that aligns with you. While Gen Z can't afford a home, but yeah, we can afford to pack up and leave. Well, Trump's move on institutional investors in houses are going to crush the housing market.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
You're going to buy up a bungalow for $50 now. And apparently there's like, when Trump made the announcement, people found that a bunch of insiders at Blackstone and other companies were selling off shares. I don't know if that's true. But that's the rumor. Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that actually came out today that was really good for the economy. You know, good.
Oh, it's just what's really funny is the people who made bets on Maduro's capture right before he got captured. How did they know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe they're soothsayers.
Well,
Candace saw it in a dream.
I'll say this: the housing price thing Trump's doing is going to piss boomers off. Mm-hmm. All their wealth is going to evaporate overnight. Their equities in their property. However, it means Gen Z might be able to afford a house.
Yeah.
So it's the right thing to do.
Agreed.
Mikey says, created a post that simply said, comply, sue later if you feel your rights are violated. All leftists on my friends list called me a bootlicker for supposedly defending ICE with that statement. Yep.
They're leftists and they're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Well, I think the bigger thing is the conservatives who are defending this woman. Conservatives coming out and being like, wow, I can't believe the cop would shoot her. It's like, oh boy, here. This is why the right loses. Because when George Floyd happens, everyone on the right agrees with the left. All right, that one gamer says about the Greenland situation. We should show the polls showing majority wanting independence, make facts unavoidable to American voters and lefties. You guys saw that Greenland and Denmark are fighting?
Yeah.
Greenland called Denmark neo-colonialists for excluding them from the conversation over joining the United States. Greenland government is saying you can't tell us what to do and has decided to violate the charter they have with Denmark to have private meetings with the United States to negotiate acquisition.
I always thought this was going to be. I thought it was going to be a meme, but honestly, now I'm starting. I'm probably 50-50 as to whether or not they're going to become part of the US.
I'm the biggest Greenland hawk probably in the United States. Like, I think that is rightfully our territory. But one hesitation I have is I don't know if we should amplify like leftist anti-colonial sentiment in Greenland, because that's just going to cause us problems down the road with the people. The best case scenario is we annex Greenland. There's like 80,000 people there, and we just flood it with Texans, like oil barons, and then they will just like outpopulate Greenland and turn it into a red state.
They should just be made a territory. They shouldn't be a state.
As soon as Donald Trump started talking about the Monroe Doctrine, I'm like, you know what? Greenland's in the West.
Sure,
I mean, and Denmark's not in the West. And
That's
it's,
our constitutional shelf.
So as soon as I have it, I'm like, I see where he's going with this.
Look, I mean, the fact that the U.S. had to protect Greenland during World War II because the Nazis took Denmark, right?
Yeah.
Like that alone is like, it makes me think, well, you know, if you can't protect it, is it really yours?
Yeah, and also the Danish like forgot. I know Danish people personally. They like forget about Greenland quite. It's not in like it's not in the top of their
56,000 people.
Yeah, it's not at the forefront of their minds. And then also the King of Denmark didn't add Greenland into his official seal until like 3 years ago when
really?
it actually became a conversation. So
Yeah, see, it's ours.
So for the Danish, they were like, oh yeah, we own that because the Vikings did all the work.
We'll just buy
So
it.
we have a comment from Kate says, Tim, you were arguing rights, but Andrew rejects the notion. God gives us duties and free will, not rights. Rights as we know them are entitlements absent duty that only function with force backing. That is an opinion on how you view rights. So I will describe it like this. I agree. God gives us a duty. Okay. Do you need to perform certain actions to fulfill the duties God has bestowed upon you? Anybody?
I would assume so.
Well, can you be fruitful and multiply if you have no ability to eat?
No, that's no. You have to.
So, do I have an inherent right to eat food?
I mean,
Food
no.
that you grow on your own. Yeah.
Or acquire on my own?
Yeah,
Indeed.
If it's yours, yeah.
Do we believe, those that believe in God's will, like, do I have the right to stop you from doing your duty to God? No, I don't. However, you, who must fulfill your duty to God, must be able to perform certain actions to fulfill your duty to God. Now, it's entirely true that people infringe upon rights every single day, but the idea that rights don't exist would mean God has created a world by which you have a duty to him, but other people are allowed to stop you from doing it. They're allowed to do it. Like, it is a just thing that God expects, that someone will decide you must not be allowed to fulfill your duty to God. That makes no sense.
Is that like when countries are at war and they're preventing people from getting food, like in that regard?
The idea is this: be fruitful and multiply, the simplest of the duties you have before God. Is it a sin to stop someone from following God's will? Is it wrong? Yes, it is. Hands down. Okay. That would imply that God has given us moral entitlement to perform certain actions to fulfill our duty to him. If we were not entitled by God to do these things, it would be impossible for us to fulfill our duties to him. So speaking to one another, defending ourselves from aggression, freedom of movement. If you are locked down and someone's beating you, you will not multiply. You will not be fruitful, and you will not proselytize the word of God. So God bestows upon you certain things you must be able to do that we recognize we cannot stop someone else from doing. That's why we have rights. That's why we perceive rights. It's strange to be like, nope, because entitlements are absent duty. Well, you have free will. Whether or not you fulfill God's duty is your free will, but you have to be able to perform certain tasks to do it. If there were no rights, then nobody would ever do it. One guy would just be like, God protects me when I subjugate you, which I think makes no sense. Anyway. All right, what do we got here? Patty Ravino says, tragic for her family, but this was a result of her own choices. A mother of three should always prioritize her children and partner, not illegal immigrants.
True.
Yes.
So true.
Yep. All right, here we go. Wolf says, and once again, the left is going to summer of love over the demise of another actively detrimental, unwitting fifth columnist. Yay.
I disagree with that stuff. The context surrounding 2020 was so very different. Everyone was at home because of COVID. It was summertime, and to be honest with you, a liberal white woman is not a black man.
Yeah,
that matters. You're not going to have that kind, like all of those things together. The winter alone tends to make people not protest. You'll get some protests, but you're not going to get, weeks of nightly riots and stuff.
Yeah, like Summer of Love was because black people were in proximity to downtown areas. But if black people are not interested in rioting this go around, then there's not enough people near urban areas to actually like cause massive riots. And the way that U.S. cities are structured, it's almost like preventing riots from occurring, because you got to like, if I want to go riot tonight, I got to go drive downtown and then find parking, and then it's like it's a hassle. It's easier just to stay home.
Sometimes I don't even go to concerts because of that.
Yeah,
Never
literally.
mind, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't see like widespread riots. There'll be protests. There'll be people in the streets, but they're going to be people that are the paid protesters. They're going to be only the most committed, and it's not going to be where you have all the casuals that you had, because that was a lot of the issues with during the riots in 2020. It was people that didn't actually have like strong convictions. They were just like, oh, let's go out and have fun. You look at the riots in Kenosha. Like the first guy that Kyle Rittenhouse had to shoot because he was being attacked. That guy wasn't like a committed ideologue. He was just a dude that had just got out of jail and was downtown because everyone's downtown. He's looking to get a little wild and have basically what he considered a good time.
Yeah, it'll just pop up in all the hits: Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Wilson chimes in saying, Tim is right. Your average liberal, middle-aged white woman is clueless about these things. Their whole lives are insulated from the harsh realities of the world. They think life is a Hallmark movie. Agreed. Yep. Maury says, most normies think this is a game. They live on social media and virtue signal support the cause until they catch lead and get a wake-up call. Yup. I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call and a bunch of these people say, I'm not going out. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
You will die.
That's the best case scenario.
But I don't think it matters, because they're brainless zombies anyway. Mm-hmm. And the problem is they don't have kids, so they live for nothing. They're weird, hedonistic monsters that just exert pain and anger.
Yep. Yeah, I say it on the show all the time. Like, what do you do when an increasing proportion of the population has nothing to lose?
Yeah, they just like the origin of Namor.
So that's out of my pay grade.
Namor in Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh.
In the
king
movie.
of Underseas, right?
They decided that his name meant the boy with no love.
Oh, he's the first,
which is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
He was the first stone cold incel.
It was just dumb. They were like, how do we make Namor, the Submariner, like Mexican? And so the Namor comes out of the water, and the Mexican guy goes, "You're a child with no love." And it's like, what? Like, why are you saying that to some kid you've never seen before?
Is he attacking a poetry convention? Like, what's going on?
You can just say things.
Yeah.
Man, and now they're retconning the whole Marvel universe. So with like Doomsday, it's basically a sequel to Endgame, and they're getting rid of everything in between.
Good call.
Yeah, they were like, apparently it's because no one saw any of the movies in between. Like even Adam Electron guy was like, the last Marvel movie I saw was Endgame.
Yeah. The more they tamper with the comic books, the more you're going to radicalize Connor Tomlinson. He's just going to get angrier and angrier.
Yeah, but I mean,
what do you mean you
justified.
didn't see Captain Marvel, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Man, that movie bombed.
I saw Marvel was tweeting about, someone asked, what movies do I need to see to understand Doomsday? And they just listed everything that they've done. And someone's like, yeah, that's not happening, pal.
ChatGPT, what is Marvel?
Well, to be fair, I think what they're trying to do is they realized that the Spider-Man with the 3 Spider-Mans was gangbusters. Mm-hmm. And so what they're doing now is the old X-Men movies, all the old different Marvel movies, like Tobey Maguire is going to be in it, and they're bringing all of them. Now they own everything.
Yeah, and they don't have to move toys anymore either, so that changes the incentive structures a bit as well.
And no kids.
Yeah.
No kids.
Because that used to drive a lot of those movies. It's like, okay, well, how can we move toys? But now it's like, how do we get millennials to watch this?
Wasn't that George Lucas's thing? Like he wanted the merchandising rights?
Yep.
And it made him a billionaire?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Man.
Genius. Absolutely
Very
genius.
smart.
Despite the fact that Star Wars is whack, it's just like the worst thing ever.
Was the
Wasn't
same
always
thing.
whack, though.
And it wasn't always. The first one was actually great. And then the second one was, I don't know, everyone says Empire's better, and I'm like, I like Empire, but I like the first one better. I like Return of the Jedi the most. Mm-hmm. But I think first one was the best, second one is third, and third is second. But man, the prequels were trash, goofy, hokey nonsense, and the sequels were just don't exist as far as I'm concerned. Sequels never happened. To be fair, what's the new show that they did that was about lesbian space witches?
That wasn't Andor.
Acolyte.
Acolyte, okay.
Yeah, they were like, the Force was actually a bunch of lesbians who chanted and created it. No, I'm not kidding. That's actually
Thank
the
God
story.
I didn't watch it.
They're lesbians. They just had like wallets. That was the.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. So smash the like button. Share the show with everyone. You know, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Josie, do you want to shout anything out?
I'm Josie. I'm the Redheaded Libertarian. You can find me at TRHL Official on X. And tomorrow I'm going to be in West Palm for Liberty Mandate. So if you can get a ticket and check that out.
Right on.
Follow me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown, and go check out today on the Culture War channel, interview chat, so to speak, with Alex Stein. It was a blast, so go check it out.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. All That Remains is going on tour this spring. We're going to be out starting 4/29 in Albany. We're going out with Born of Osiris and Dead Eyes. Get your tickets. They're available now. You can check out All That Remains on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out.